Now then, how are you?
I'm all right, Colin, and
Yep.
I can see you're well. You're looking spry.
Yes, I've
Have you
done all
been to the
my.
gym, Colin?
I have, and I've done my morning exercises, and I've been out with the dog for a walk, and then you contacted me this morning whilst I was out and about
I
uh,
did
with a
because
problem.
something's cropped up in the French press and specifically in the local French press. And I live in the middle of rural nowhere, so this is quite a shock. But what cropped up caught my eye, so I sent you a message to say, how can you help me?
Hmm.
And you've kindly set this up. So I'm going to talk to you about a former minister in the French government, something of a star of the Mitterrand government, a gentleman who was the culture minister from 81 to 88, who goes by the very Anglo-Saxon name of Jack Lang. So Jacklang.
Okay.
And what I know about Jack Lang from, let's call it, reputable journalistic sources, including the BBC, is that he was culture minister. And whilst he was culture minister, he became involved, and I'm going with involved, with certain Jeffrey Epstein. And it's been reported that Lang and Epstein collaborated on a financing arrangement to promote French culture,
Okay.
art, media, ballet, the things that French culture absolutely truly loves. And it's not a stereotypical thing, they truly do. However, the French press have been telling us, not without a whiff of scandal, that certain members of Jack Lang's extended family may stand to benefit from the creation of a trust
Hmm.
established by the deceased disgraced financier. So, if I set you the task, what can you tell me about Jack Lang, ex politician, and his connection with Epstein and, I've got to put it in quotes, dubious financing arrangements that
Mhm.
may or may not warrant the attention of the French fiscal authorities? That's what I'd like. Can you help me?
I think I can. As you know, I've got this little system called EDD Pro, which is designed to speed up the whole process of due diligence, which in a sense is what you're asking me to do. I suppose I should say before we even go there is that I can use the system. It speeds everything up. Nothing we do is not available to anybody else who wants to use Google and other databases. And I suppose just covering off your interest, you do lots of training in the trust corporate service arena. Case studies like this are always useful, aren't they,
They,
to
they,
delegates?
they certainly are, and I also work in the legal sector,
Hmm.
and in that regard, sometimes law firms can feel, well, we're not actually involving ourselves with the client; we're just acting for the client.
Hmm.
Whereas a trust company takes the client on as a client. So one, if you like, is transactional, and one is relationship. But both of them should be worried by a relationship with Jack Lang that hadn't been identified as potentially deserving of enhanced due diligence,
Right. Okay.
because it's not just take on, it's ongoing monitoring. So, what can you tell me?
Right. And give me a minute. I shall just load up the system, and you can see that. Okay.
Yeah, I suddenly had the words of a song coming to mind, which is load up with rubber bullets. But you and I are of an age, and
Was
other
that
people who are watching this might not get that reference at all.
10cc though, wasn't it? Okay. So what we'll do is we'll do a manual entry. So as we've said, everything we're about to do, you can find, I guess, online. But we're going to make that whole process much quicker. France. Yeah.
Yep. What I don't have is a date of birth for him.
I don't need it. So I've entered his name, two keywords, and we're going to go to the next screen.
This in French is where we're starting from.
Okay.
Obviously, that's not going to be in focus, but that's the local press
Okay.
saying that the affair Epstein is a scandal without frontiers.
All right. Right. So let's do this then. I'm going to do Chatline Bio Inquiry. This is AI, and
Okay.
we'll do a bit quick bio inquiry and move stuff out of the way.
The thing with Google, Colin, is it shows up so much, it's sometimes very hard to see the wood for the trees.
Hmm.
And you want to see the wood, not the trees, because the wood, WOOD, is what you want to base your informed decision on.
Yeah. Now, that came up very, very quickly. You can see here there's an abundance of information here.
Too much, Colin. There's an abundance, and abundance is too much because
Yeah.
how do I see the wood amongst 50 plus immediate lines?
No, you're right, but it's all relevant. What we're going to do is I'm going to what we've done. You're right, but there's a lot of digital noise out there, and it's trying to get that in a fashion that we can home in on the risks. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add the bio inquiry to the report because that's important. Because if you can see here, there are one or two citations or references, websites, etc. Can you see it, number 15? Yeah, that one.
Yep,
So I've
in the
added this to our
Brussels
report.
Times, no less.
Yeah, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to summarize that.
Okay.
So, and bear
So
in
you're
mind,
you're pulling out of that open source document and
yeah,
then summarizing what it says about what Jack Lang was doing
yeah,
that was reported in the Brussels press back whenever it was,
yeah,
to enable you to produce a report for me that tells me whether that's relevant. Because in all of this, I have a concern that there are members of Jack Lang's wider family who, implicated is too strong a word, may be associated with a financing arrangement that involved the late Jeffrey Epstein. And that's sufficiently newsworthy to me as a trainer,
yeah,
but it's also certainly newsworthy to anybody providing banking, investment
yeah.
management,
No,
other
exactly right.
services to
Yeah.
those family members.
So what you've got there is broken it down into very, very readable text.
Yeah.
He's under preliminary investigation for aggravated tax fraud, and money laundering. Very recently, the raids were conducted. He's linked to offshore company documents, appearing 673 times in connection with Jeffrey Epstein. He resigned from his position as president of the Arab World Institute. No charges. The investigation is being conducted by France's National Anti-Fraud Office, and Lang's daughter, Caroline Lang, is also implicated. So you can see there what the system does. It also tells you the risk assessment is high.
Okay.
So we
Can I
can
say
add,
something as well, which is
yeah,
I picked up on a comment from quite a worldly wise individual the other day who said the French are starting to get to grips with this. They want to be seen
yeah,
to be dealing with bribery and corruption in high office.
yeah,
Sarkozy's gone to jail. Sarkozy's back in court today.
yeah,
This really is being taken seriously in France.
yeah,
Ergo, I don't want to be associated with anybody connected with this unless I know I'm associated. And
yeah.
if I'm associated, I then want my enhanced due diligence
To be
to
good.
be to the very best standards so that I can make a decision about my ongoing relationship.
Yeah, and often you want to do it quickly. So
Yeah, can you do it yesterday, please,
yeah,
Colin?
yeah, that's often the question I get, believe it or not. I need this urgently, and I know from experience that enhanced due diligence takes time. Um, but what you're able to do here is get visibility on things very, very quickly. So what I'm going to do is add an investigation note,
Okay.
and I'm just going to put in here risk rating high and recent. Now, what we can do here is we've done this deliberately because um, it's really important that you contextualize the results in what you know or don't know as well. So I'm going to add that. I've made a brief note of that. I'm going to add it to the report in terms of the bio. Okay. You can put as much as you like it. You put additional information. Now we could do other things. We
Now,
could do,
if I was a money laundering reporting officer or a compliance director, what
yeah,
I also want is enough information quick enough for me to make a decision as to what my recommendation might be
yeah,
to um, my managing partner,
yeah,
my managing board, to my compliance department head.
yeah,
So this is about pulling in enough information, and everything you're pulling up so far, Colin, says high risk,
yeah,
doesn't it?
definitely. Yeah,
So if this individual or individuals weren't already rated as high risk and weren't already subject to enhanced due diligence, then my firm doesn't look clever.
no,
It would
exactly.
look more clever more quickly, by the speed at which you're pulling this together.
Yeah, make very quick decisions. I'm just going to do another one on corporate intelligence and beneficial ownership.
Okay,
Well,
before you do, and before
yeah,
you explain that to me, the ability to make quick decisions is also about being able to demonstrate that the decision I've made is rounded, it's
yeah.
taken in the whole, it's backed up with enough. Because I can't afford to be a headless chicken running around.
No.
Talking of which, could I just bring the rugby results into play? There we go.
Right.
Did that.
Okay, I'm saying nothing. So in here we've got further information. Some of that might be replicated, but there is a bit more here. And what I would do in terms of what you said there about record keeping, for example, because that's important. At some point, you need to reference back. We'll add that to the report, but again, we'll summarize it. And you see here, we're keeping hold of all the citations. So record keeping, as we both know, absolutely vital. So we'll add that to the report as
Well,
well.
can you just stop there? Because
Mm,
we're now talking about Jack and one of the daughters, Caroline,
yeah,
and a BVI company
yeah,
or a Virgin Island company. Do we know if that's a British Virgin Island or a US Virgin Island
that's
company?
a good question. We could probably delve a bit deeper if we needed to. That's why we put the free text field in there. Or we could actually travel to some of these links as well if we
You
wanted
can
to.
also understand why the likes of Baroness Margaret Hodge, the Labour peer,
Yeah.
thinks there must be publicly accessible registers of beneficial ownership and persons with a controlling interest in offshore companies. Because who owns and who controls Priorantine Virgin Islands?
Mm,
It really matters, doesn't it?
of course
I
it does.
suspect it's a Liechtenstein Foundation with underneath
Yeah.
that with a Guernsey trust or an Isle of Man trust just for random
Yeah.
options, and ergo, Lang family members may be benefiting. And I come back to may be benefiting.
Yeah. And again, we both know that you know some jurisdictions are inherently difficult to get beneficial
Yep,
ownership from. So
that's where
um,
that's where skills come in, though, isn't it, Colin?
yeah,
Being able to
yeah,
find out what you need to know, and I don't mean through um, any form of underhand methodology, but just there are questions you can ask to find the right answers, or the
yeah.
answers that you think are the right answers.
Now I'm going to move on because we could spend a bit of time in here. And the reason we've got multi-source risk screening here is AI. We shouldn't be treated with 100% credibility. We have to be careful with it. And we've done these for speed. Generally speaking, it's very accurate, but there might be occasions where it's not. So we've included web search, and it's pre-configured with adverse terms. Okay.
Right?
So I'm going to run the web search now.
So your adverse term in this search is French politics.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
That's a bit harsh, Colin.
no,
That's a
but
bit
you've
harsh.
got we've got the kit. So we've got all of these are references. So let's have a look. We'll have a look at this.
Oh, can I just say the very fact that Jack Lang said Epstein put money into something to fund a movie just is
Right.
just
Yeah.
it's
So
just a response that other people have said in the past.
there we go. So what we can do, we can add all of these to the report, um, and read them later on because we're going to save the various links. So okay,
Yep.
and once we've finished with the adverse terms, we can run other searches. But I, I'm guessing that the important thing here, particularly nowadays, sanctions and PEP check, we'll run the ICIJ database, which might answer your question.
Could you just run Company's House as well? Because
Yeah,
it
yeah, we
might
can do.
just
Yeah,
be, Colin, that you and I are
yeah,
the people who discover a
yeah.
Lang connection to an English and Welsh company.
You never know. So you can see we've got a neat little report building up here. So we've done that. We've done. Just want to check we brought across all the companies. Yes, we did. Yeah. Um, go next. So we've got Jack Lang as a PEP at 2nd of September 39. We can, if we wish, we can travel to the page and check that. a bit more information there with other names as well.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that's our man there.
No, wrong date of birth.
But what we can do is we can remove that. I'll add that to the report actually. We can remove that if we wish
Okay.
and go to the next page. Um, Again, I don't think so. Jack Lang is fairly common in the UK, so
It is. It's a very
yeah,
Anglo-Saxon
yeah.
combination of pre and family name, as the French would say.
But we could spend time going through that if we wanted to.
We could, and we'd probably find we'd end up down some rabbit holes that we
Yeah,
didn't need to be down. But it was worth doing it just in case there was an exact match on name, date of birth,
yeah.
wasn't it?
Now, what we have is nothing found in ICIJ database. So,
So
but
you're actually adding to the report you're producing for me the nil result as well.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So once we've finished, and we will probably spend a bit more time on this, just for demonstration purposes. We will come
Okay.
here.
Can I just ask
Mm.
one more then? We know Jack is with us. He's 86. We know Caroline. Caroline features in some of the connections to Epstein. There are other family members. Can you identify who they are for me?
We could run. My approach to that would be we'd run another search and do
Right.
that separately. Go back to the beginning and do that.
So we would say, right, who's Jack Lang's family? And then search against family member one, family member
We
two.
can do that. We can
Okay.
do that. I've done it before. So we've used that in free text searches and actually built out stuff.
Okay.
Um,
And then the other thing that would be desperately interesting, and I am an anorak, Colin,
yeah.
is which jurisdiction is this company incorporated? The one that says in the Virgin Islands. Because
Right. It
as we
says
know from Epstein, Epstein owns one of the US, but Epstein owned one of the US Virgin Islands, but
right.
that's not necessarily.
You
That's
see
in the
there.
US Virgin Islands. There
There
you
you
go.
go. So it's
Thank
found
you.
that. That was just in an earlier result. Now, what I
Okay.
would do before I do a risk screening note,
Yep.
and like with anything, you would say these would be. So, what would your sort of observations be?
Ooh, now I'm coming to you, and you have to think that you don't know how much I know, how
No.
informed I am. Because if I'm your client, I'm coming to you and I'm saying, I think we might have a connection to Jack Lang, Caroline Lang, or other Langs,
Hmm.
and that might be a real problem for us from a adverse publicity point of view. Um, so are we saying that you're going to record your observations
Yeah,
then to
effectively.
me?
Yeah. If I
Okay.
if I was doing this, I mean,
You'd free format that to me, and
yeah,
then I could be swayed by that or
yeah,
not swayed by that. But at the end of the day, I'm getting consumable, digestible, portion controlled information that is the right mix of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats
yeah,
that allows me to make a decision which says we're exposed, but we knew we were exposed, or we're exposed. What are we going to do? Because I think exposure is like interest rates. Interest rates can go up, down, or stay the same.
mm,
Exposure is we are, but we knew we were.
yeah,
We are, we didn't know we were, or we're not
yeah, yeah,
currently.
yeah. So we'll add that. At that point, we download the report when we're ready.
And how do I get hold of that, Colin?
We send it to our clients securely. But if you were using the system, it would just come down to you.
Now, when you say using the system, we can do this in one or two ways. I can approach you and say, Colin,
Yeah,
do this for me.
yeah,
But I can also, for, for, for ease, I can also sign up, dreadful choice of phrase, I can subscribe to the service and do this for myself.
yeah.
And I can do that across X number or Y number, depending on our relationship. But
Okay.
what I can see you've done for me through this is you being able to say to me, Colin, you asked about Jack Lang. This is what's immediately available.
Yeah,
And the sources of this are included as the citations.
yeah,
And he was a high risk because he was an ex-politician. He becomes an even higher risk because of the association with Epstein.
yeah,
And then we might be finding out things we didn't know, like, well, what's this US Virgin Island company? Where did that maintain a bank account?
Exactly. And
Where did the funds flow through that?
yeah. And it gives you, when we've been talking, we've been doing that, but this has produced sort of a 9-page document. There's plenty of information in there to help you make your decisions, guide your thinking, and your decision making as well.
What it does, Colin, and you just summarised that, is it enables the recipient of this report to decide what to do, and that can include reporting the existence of the connection to their colleagues, to who they report to, with a recommendation.
Yeah.
And it might be instantly, well, we have a connection, we didn't know we have a connection, let's file a defensive suspicious activity report. Might not be the right thing to do, but at least you can then consider doing it.
Exactly. It gives you all the sort of foundation, what I would call good intelligence.
Right. Now,
And you've gone
you
through an
know,
investigative process to get there as well. It's not just going onto Google and not keeping records. Everything we've done is in that report. And I would say, from a security point of view, bearing in mind there's been a breach recently in a big company, we do not keep records of anybody's searches. So once you've downloaded that, that's yours. We don't keep a record. All we know about you is you've conducted searches.
thank you. That in itself is reassuring, because let's be honest, the security of data from Companies House and other places is a real live issue at the moment.
Massively. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, how did anybody find out about Richard Tice's real estate investment trust activities? Don't know. No, hear that. In this real world, Colin, I'm desperately busy. You're desperately busy. My phone's ringing off the hook. Emails are pinging in. Can you send me that report?
Yes, and I'll send it to you securely, because we have a secure link and we keep that.
And then I might come back to you, if you like, with my professional reaction, because the good news is I don't think I have a connection to Jack Lang or Caroline Lang, but I might ask you just to check the other Lang siblings.
Yeah, exactly. We're able to do that. So it's been a pleasure. I'm glad we're able to help. And should anybody want to know any more about this system and what we can offer, all they've got to do is reach out.
Okay. But don't mention the rugby.
I'm saying nothing.
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you. Cheerio.